Hello, hello. Hi. I hope I'm audible and visible. My name is Yasha. We are back with another live session with one of our trainers for our course on trauma informed care practices. That is, by the way, going to start soon. So just to update you all, hi Shi. Hi to everyone who's joined. Yeah, just to update you all before I invite today's guest, um, we have already started with the shortlisting process of the applications we have received so far, and the interview process has already begun. And the applications close on the 31st of July. So, in case you want to register for the course, please do that. And yeah, and you can find the registration form on all our social media handles. Yeah, and do reach out to us if you have any doubts and clarifications. So today we have Maitri Nigvekar with us, and she will be joining us shortly. I am trying to get in touch with her. She is a holistic trauma therapist, a clinical hypnotherapist, and a Reiki practitioner. And she will be taking up the somatic aspect of the course for us, the somatic lens, the hold on, I will just try and connect her. I am trying to figure out. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think there seems to be some connectivity issue. I don't know if it's from my end or hers.
Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Hi, I wasn't able to connect there for a bit.
It's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, so I was just telling everyone who's joined that you will be taking up the body work and somatic lens aspect of the course. And yeah, how are you?
I am good. Slightly nervous. How are you?
Yeah, same. I'm doing this for the second time and I'm still as nervous as I was the first time.
I know. I know. I can imagine. I don't do lives very often. I don't like being in front of camera very often. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
resonate with the energy that you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it takes time, but yeah, whenever you start with the entire process, it's always a little anxiety
Yeah.
provoking.
Yeah. I've got like a hot beverage just to like something to like just calm me down.
Yeah,
Thank you for
thank
having this
you
platform.
so much. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so should we
Yeah,
get right into it?
let's get right into it.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the first thing that I want to address is that, we often hear that, trauma is stored in our bodies and the fact that our nervous system gets impacted by it. Uh, we do hear that,
Yeah,
but I would want to hear it from you, what your understanding, how would you make others understand it in, very briefly, how, what exactly does that mean? What exactly does it mean, it means to, when we say that trauma is stored in our bodies?
right. So I guess there's a couple of ways to looking at it, right? One is to understand what trauma is exactly, and that is essentially anything that is overwhelming to our systems, right? A lot of people look at trauma as like the big things, war, the pandemic, sexual assault, those kinds of big things. Uh, but trauma, essentially, how I understand it and how we understand it, right, is anything that overwhelms your system, and that is how I look at it. And when you experience something that is overwhelming to your system, mind, body, soul, uh, your body kind of your system kind of goes into a shock, right? Which means that there are certain responses that come about when you experience an overwhelming situation. Um, and that gets stored in your system, right? And when we look at it in terms of like definitions and how language is worded, we look at it from the perspective of the fight response or the flight response or the freeze response. Uh, and a new addition to that is the fawn response, right? So we're looking at essentially how our systems responded, reacted in the face of something that was extremely overwhelming to us, right? So either we decided to stay put and fight it out in whatever shape and form we could, you know, or we decided to leave, escape, flight, whether that's actually physical leaving, physically
Yeah.
leaving the situation, or in your mind, Um, a good way to explain that is daydreams. Uh, you know, uh, just I'm going to leave this situation because it is too overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes you just freeze, right? Sometimes you don't know, there is no escape, and there is no way to uh, really fight it out either. Uh, and sometimes you just freeze. Sometimes one system just freezes. Um,
Yeah.
so those are some responses that come about, and that essentially wires our nervous system in a particular way, and that leads to certain patterns, certain belief systems, certain responses, certain ways in which we relate with one another, different people in. So that's what we mean when we say trauma is stored in the body.
Yeah, and while you were mentioning all of that, I do think that, I mean, that's how we respond initially, and then that just becomes our normal,
Exactly.
and then that doesn't seem like something so adverse
Yeah.
because it's how we've learned to cope.
Exactly. So strategies that once helped us, once we are sort of out of that overwhelming experience and traumatic experience, are no longer adaptive strategies.
Yeah.
And that's when uh, uh, issues, for the lack of a better word, start coming in.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just way too common now.
Yeah.
And we see it everywhere and
Yeah.
everything, whether it's from the kind of phone usage we have these days, I
Exactly.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of us collectively are moving through the aftermath of a pandemic.
Yeah, of course.
Uh, just in case you didn't have overwhelming experiences before, most definitely do. So,
Yeah, and the impact of which we'll see for years to come, I guess.
exactly. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't have the data yet, and it's too soon to have any data. So yeah.
And I do personally feel controversial opinion, but I do feel that data is a very reductionist approach,
Exactly.
and the actual impact is something that I don't think we have the capacity to measure anyway.
Yeah, we don't. We don't. Data just gives us like a jumping off point,
Yeah,
so to speak. Just,
yeah, absolutely.
this could be something that we should look at. You know,
Yeah,
but you're right. I agree. Yeah.
yeah,
Not such an
absolutely.
unpopular opinion, Yasha.
Yeah, yeah. Not really. I hope not. Okay. Yeah, so coming to the somatic lens aspect, I do know that you work with it and you're still currently in training for that. So, what exactly is the somatic lens? And when we talk about body work, and how do we incorporate that in therapy?
Right. Uh, so somatic work essentially is looking at how experiences and patterns have come about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and really just tapping into that, the aftermath of it. What that looks like is we try to slow things down enough and slow things down in a way that is that is comfortable to the client. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, to be able to increase the capacity of the nervous system, right? Because what technically is happening in an overwhelming experience is that there is no time and space to really deal with it. It's just survival instinct that sort of kicks in, and the person is
Mm-hmm.
navigated based off of that, right?
Yeah.
So in the somatic work, we're trying to just slow it down enough, just a little bit, uh, to be able to say, okay, let's look at what's happening in the body now. Can we
Mm-hmm.
just here for a little bit? And what that waiting does is it increases your capacity to just stay with it, and it creates a sort of uh, again, for the lack of a better word, an activation, and then it sort of, when you stay with it,
Mm-hmm.
creates an activation, and then it helps you to just release the trauma memories from the body. So that's what begins to happen as you continue to use the
Mm-hmm.
body. um, and and uh, it is a slow process, and it can get slightly frustrating. I have a lot of frustrated clients, but they actually have faith in me. So yeah, yeah. So we're, because trauma is extremely overwhelming, we're trying to just take it bit by bit, and just
Yeah.
look at that small piece uh, in the body,
Mm-hmm.
and what sensations come up, what visuals come up. There's a whole gamut of things
Of
that,
course.
um, but we're just looking at, okay, what are you experiencing in the body right now? Um, yeah,
Yeah. And I totally relate with the fact that it can get very heavy
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
mostly actually.
yeah.
Because I've had one personal experience. I was trying something on my own. I had a very heavy day, and I was just feeling very restless that day. I was just going to sleep, and I tried this activity. It just it went something along the lines of I had to name what I was feeling, and then I had to locate it in my body, and I had to
Yeah,
sort of validate it.
yeah, yeah.
And and after that, what happened? I'm still in shock. I haven't gone back to it ever again because I was like, where did this come from? What happened? Why did I cry for like half an hour after that?
Yeah,
For what reason? I still don't know.
right. Because when you slow it down a little bit, a lot of stuff can come up. Uh, reason you what it is recommended recommended that you do it with someone,
Of
right?
course. Yeah. Yeah. I did learn my lesson there.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Please do not try experiments with your nervous system.
Yeah. 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 It's still in shock because of that, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure, because that's another way of just re-traumatizing your system,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Because you don't
Exactly.
have that person in front of you to mirror grounding, to reflect
Yeah.
a certain
Absolutely.
settling, stabilization going.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it can get very tough. You're very brave.
I'm stupid, I think. But yeah.
Two sides of the same
Yeah.
coin, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I have another thought here. So, with your
Yeah.
clients, do you face some kind of resistance when you introduce body
Oh,
work?
oh
Because I'm
yeah.
sure it is met with it
Oh
quite
yeah.
often.
100%. Also because so my training is in psychotherapy. I'm a counseling psychologist. I'm a health psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
So when people come to me, they come with a particular kind of lens of I'm going to get to talk, right? And they are very excited about the talking bit. And then here I am sitting in sessions going, 1 minute, let's pause a little bit, you know, and check in with what's happening. And then they're just like, what is this question coming my way? And I do an introduction call and all of that, but they don't. On the call, they don't really know how that's going to look, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
so there is an absolute resistance because when you pause, like for you, right? So much came up, uh, and, and it can get overwhelming, and that's why you need to do it with someone and to just
Yeah,
walk through that process. And
absolutely.
I just had an experience, I think last week, where I was just starting a session with a client, and I was like, just like how I usually start. How was your week? What happened? Let's get into it. And she looked at me and she went, "I will only tell you if you let me finish." Okay. I no questions on pausing for this one. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to pause you for this one. And yeah, so there is resistance because no one really, it's not, I mean, the survival instincts are there in place for a reason.
Yeah,
Uh, there is that
of course.
for a reason, flight and whatever, right? So we need those. It just becomes maladaptive when it's done over a period of time. So, but the layperson doesn't know that. So
Of course.
you will get resistance, and you will have to walk that line of, yeah, I get that, and
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to pause you because experiences are happening at a fast to perpetuate the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of resistance though.
Yeah, of course, because there is a certain pattern set in place and it's familiar, it's comfortable, no matter how maladaptive it is, no matter the long-term damage that it's doing to your health and your
Yeah,
just your physical health, leave
absolutely.
mental health.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is hard to navigate around that because
correct.
it's heavy and it's tough.
Yeah, yeah, and we, like you said, right, that a part of us is comfortable with that because that's what is familiar, that's what we know, that's
Yeah,
what our systems inherently know. And everything right now is so fast, that we don't have the pause,
of course.
so, and when you ask them to pause, they're just like, can you just shut up, and let me talk? So yeah, you will get it 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah, and do you think for any mental health practitioner, it's sort of a non-negotiable to have some sort of somatic lens in their work?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like a 100%. Like I remember coming out of my masters and feeling so clueless, and just and I got into the development sector. I worked with NGOs and worked with child protection. So I was doing some very intense work, and I was not probably the best mental health professional out there. I was empathetic. I'll give myself that, but I don't know so much about the techniques and tools that I was necessarily using. Um, so I do think that somatic work, body work, is a very, very crucial aspect. And I believe, because I work with the mind, body, spirit triad, and I do believe that you can't really leave one out on the thing. You're leaving
Yeah,
it midway. You're leaving it half-assed. You're just no. So it is important to bring the body in, because your body is going through 100% of your experience, whether
absolutely.
your mind remembers it or not. Your body is experiencing it 100% of the time. There is no second in your life where your body has not experienced it. So to
Absolutely.
see that out of the healing conversation, and I'm just, how does that work? Uh, so yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and I think for young therapists themselves to be able to tap into their own body's wisdoms, I
Yeah,
think that in itself is the starting point. You
exactly.
know, just trying to understand your own body as a therapist, where you feel that maybe a client or a situation or an environment is triggering, is something that's beyond your capacity. It's overwhelming your system.
Yeah,
If you recognize that in yourself, you will eventually be able to
right,
recognize that in your client as well.
right. And that is very important, because knowing your own capacity, knowing your own bandwidth, knowing your own nervous system becomes important. Because, like, say, for example, with me, I don't work with addiction. I come from a family where addiction was prevalent. And I know in that that is not something I want to put my system through.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a significant amount of work that I have done on myself, and I continue to do it. And I will still say that I do not want to work with it, even though I have done my fair share of self work and continue to do so. Uh, right? And that's just a call I'm going to take for the people that I work with, for myself. Because I would like to be an efficient therapist.
Of
Uh,
course.
and if I am triggered, if I am sitting there with body and nervous system on fire, I'm not helping anyone. Uh,
Not at all.
so it becomes very, very important to do your fair work.
Yeah, and I think two things that are important here to be able to get to that point also, to
Mhm.
take that call. I think one is to be honest with yourself and the person sitting in front of you,
Oh yeah,
and and to honor your experiences in your body.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that is where you set boundaries, right? That okay, this is something that I don't think I have the capacity to do, even as a therapist, even if I'm trained to do this, I don't think I should go ahead with this.
Exactly, exactly. Because uh, you're you're not really helping them. You're
Of
causing
course,
more. Uh, and if your intention is to, be a catalyst in someone's life, you have to look at the uncomfortable people, and you have to do that work for yourself, uh, and then step into the session,
that's it.
do the work, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Huh. And so, like, I think you mentioned the mind, body, soul triad, and that is something that you work with. What exactly is that? And if there is sort of a tangible example to how, I mean, the need of the hour is that for all therapists.
Yeah.
Everyone says that and sort of recognizes it, but do they understand it? Um,
So I guess the simplest way of explaining this is, let's look at different modalities, right? When it comes to mental health or emotional health, however we're looking at it. So say psychotherapy is
mhm,
a mind-based approach. Cognitive behavior,
mhm.
REBT, very love your expression. Mind approaches have their place again,
Yeah.
right? Uh, one, the body, again, there are a lot of modalities. There's somatic experiencing, there is trauma, what was it? TS, I've forgotten the full form of it. There's
Oh,
craniosacral, there are a lot of
yeah, yeah.
modalities that come
Mhm.
in uh, Japan, what I remember. There's a lot of stuff, right, when it comes to the body. So that's one piece of the puzzle. And then
Of
when
course.
you get to the soul, and I think that's an equally important part of the puzzle. Um, Whether you believe it or not is a different question. What I would look at is faith, right? So people believe in the soul, spirit, one aspect. We have a lot of modalities that work with energies. We have Reiki, we have pranic healing, uh, we have shamanism, we have a bunch of things happening, right? And I know some of them, I engage with some of them, bring them to my practice. But you don't have to believe in the soul and the spirit to engage
Yeah.
with that part of the puzzle. Uh, the conversation needs to be, where's your faith? And uh, that can be religion, that can be God, that can be the earth, uh, that can be anything. And that's the triad that uh, you need to work with. One needs to work with when you're dealing with humans, dealing with trauma, uh, and working with healing, so to say. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the fact that a lot of clients may not be receptive to it,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe in time they will, they might, or they may not.
Yeah.
Whatever works for
Yeah.
them. And that's something that, as a practitioner, you should be willing to accept and work with,
Exactly.
no matter where your belief system lies.
Right. So I am what they call a client-centered. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, so I will always go with what the client is bringing in. And if they tell me that energy is bullshit and that does not exist, I'm like, yes, we will go with that. Let's go with where you get your strength from. Uh,
Yeah.
let's go with that.
It's all about how they see the world.
Yeah, yeah. Their lens that you're working with.
Of course. Yeah, so I mean, all of this is so vast. The mind-body integration, the somatic lens, body work, and of course, it's you've been in training for 3 years, and I know there are more to come for that. And yeah, so I mean, how do you plan to cover that in the short time that you're going to be there in the course as a trainer?
Yeah. So it's gonna be, it's so vast, and it just such little time to do it in, but we're going to try to do it in a couple of hours that we have, few hours that we have. So we're going to be looking at vicarious trauma, witnessing trauma, and we're going to be looking at how the body stores trauma, just what we started off with. Uh,
Yeah.
we're going to be looking at the stages of processing it, how one goes about it, and we're going to be talking about some tools and techniques that one can incorporate in their practice moving forward from this course. Yeah, am I
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think you've covered all of it. And also the fact that it just reminds me of the conversation we were having earlier, that, the first question is going to be that trauma is stored in how is it stored in our bodies? And you're just like, where do I start and where do I end?
yeah, that in your message, and I was like, huh? Like, how do I to explain this? But
Yeah,
yeah, it's stored the way,
yeah,
and each person is unique in the way it is stored.
of course,
Um,
of course. And
Experience is stored in different ways.
absolutely. And yeah, rightly so. I think this course is also a starting point for everyone who's joining it. It's about incorporating that lens more than anything.
Yeah,
And it is on them after the course to maybe pursue
yeah,
the specific techniques and modalities being taught in the course.
yeah. So
Yeah.
to look at the self, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to do some amount of self work. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's the that's the USP of our course, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of self-harm. Yeah, as a practitioner in general, apart from the course, also everyone who's in this field, not in this field also,
Yeah.
but especially for people who are
Yeah.
working in this field, I think self-work comes before everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you're a therapist that believes that you don't need therapy, just go for therapy. You most
Of
definitely.
course, of course. Yeah. I will admit though I am facing some block with therapy.
I'm sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
I am human and like I do face those blocks as well. But yeah, I do plan to continue with it very soon.
yeah. Because one, the therapist client fit needs to be right? Like
Of
that's
course.
an important, crucial piece of the dynamic and the healing work that's going to take place. If I'm not comfortable with my therapist, there's just no chance in hell my nervous system is going to lean into the work that needs to happen. Uh, and then once your nervous system leans in, uh, unfortunately or fortunately, you're going to have to look at certain pieces of your life, uh, right? So it's no surprise that a lot of people avoid therapy.
Of course.
So yeah, yeah,
And the people who need it most, I think they are just stating that it doesn't exist. It shouldn't exist.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I hope they go for it. Uh,
Yeah. That's I think the larger movement and the larger goal.
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, before we end, I just have one last question. For the young therapists who have joined this life, who are going to view it later, is there one thought that you would want to leave for them? Is there one sort of reflection or advice, for the lack of a better word,
Mm.
you would want to give them?
I think what I want to just tell them that we've spoken about actually, but I would want to like just drive the point home is that self work. There is no greater gift that you give your clients uh, than doing self work. Um, and that is a crucial part of this puzzle that you're engaging in and that you're doing the work in. The field that you're in requires you to do your own work. Uh, it's not like you're an architect and you need to have a home to build a home. But if you want to be a catalyst in someone's life, a positive catalyst, uh, you know, you need to be able to identify, work with your own triggers, your own trauma, your own experiences. Um, and that is the single greatest gift that you can give your clients. Uh, yeah.
And yourself in the long run.
And you know what? I have noticed that a lot of people come into this field with this very like gung ho system, rescuer system of, you know what, I want to change the world and I want to save these men and do this and I want to do that. And I'm just like, yeah, that's great, fantastic, go ahead and do all of that. But if you're not going to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, you're going to faint. So put on that oxygen. It that the advice, the instruction is given for a reason. Uh,
Of course.
uh, so because
Yeah.
you come into this, do not see that lens of this for my. They are very self-sacrificing. Uh, so can we look at that? Can we look at ourselves and be like, when am I being self-sacrificing? And
And yeah, just to end that, I think again, unpopular opinion. Um, when we talk about like saving lives and saving others, I also think somewhere it's a strategy to save yourself
it is.
from something that you're not seeing it,
Correct.
but you don't view it that way. But through saving others, you're just trying to sort of minimize maybe trying to cope with your things.
It is. And, and it will be a symbiotic relationship if you work on
Of course.
it. Otherwise, it's going to be a codependent relationship with your clients, uh,
Yeah.
where you are almost um, they they are the reason that you believe that you will get that peace and quiet and calmness or joy, whatever you're looking for. It goes outside. Uh,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This was a very, very wholesome conversation. I wish we could go on for hours because I can, I know. And yeah, I think it did extend a bit. But thank you so much for joining and for taking out time for this live. We will see you in our course during the classes, and I'm sure it's going to be very exciting.
yes, I'm very excited to teach what I know. So yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.